Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. Today I'm talking to Shahaf Bar-Geffen again from COTI to talk all about Djed. The last time we talked, Djed was in the process. It was getting ready to launch, but it has launched since. Shahaf, congrats on launch and thanks for coming back on.
Hey, Paul, thank you for having me here again. And yes, we are 2 weeks post-launch now.
Yeah, so I suppose jumping straight into it, what's your thoughts post-launch on Djed and how the whole process went?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think we can all agree that the launch was great. System worked as it should. It did not crash. Liquidity was poured in and pretty massive amounts. So it all went pretty much according to plan, which is great because Cardano is a partner and we're great believers, but not all launches on Cardano went well in the past. So I'm very happy that this one did. I think there were a lot of considerations. We maybe in theory could have launched earlier, but then I'm not sure we would have had the same successful launch that we did. So all things considered, I think we're very happy with the launch. And the data kind of proves it, right? 3 hours post launch, we already were at 800% ratio and had total liquidity of 28 million ADA, which is a lot on Cardano. We're now sitting probably at a bit over 31 million. Extensive media coverage. We're very happy with the launch.
Yeah, it's very great to see it all went smooth and everything, contracts, minting, burning seems to be working fine as well. So some questions in around the minimums and fees and stuff like that when it did go live. Are them minimums going to stay in place? I think it's 5,000 for a mint and the burn is smaller, but...
Well, first of all, the minimum will not stay in place. We will gradually lower them. Obviously, we want the system to be accessible to everybody. But again, circling back to the launch, when we thought about the launch, we've realized two things. Well, first of all, generally speaking, these sort of systems, the minting systems that are not trading systems, usually have high minimums, right? Same thing, and if you'd go to Circle or God forbid Paxos these days, and try to mint, there are high minimums. But there was another consideration when it comes to this sort of system. If we were to allow everybody to mint and burn Djed and SHEN at launch, everybody would have want to play with the system, which I totally understand. And then we may have seen lagged transactions and things may have taken a lot more time. Like the user experience wouldn't have been as smooth as it was. So that was another consideration. Now we are getting a bit more to the status quo of the system, the day-to-day sort of operation. Then we can probably lower these minimums, and we will. With that in mind, there are other things that have just happened. Yesterday, we've launched multiple wallet support to Djed. We've launched only with Nami for various reasons. But now we support Eternal, Uroi, Giro Wallet, Flint, Nufi, and Typhoon Wallet as well. So that was another thing that the community wanted, and I'm very happy that we did.
And we've also multi-wallets in there now.
Yeah, and we've also improved the user interface. There are other improvements coming, but we did a sweep of a few things that we wanted to fix for the launch. Couldn't make it to the launch, so we just delayed this a bit. But now it's there, and now we're starting to see liquidity on dexes, with MinSwap, MusliSwap, Swing Riders, BTrue. There's a staking campaign for Djed on BTrue, and there are farming rewards on various dexes. So the ecosystem is coming to life now.
Yeah, actually, I've seen just on partners as well. People were wondering, will we see more of the partners? There's a lot of partnerships talked about in the beginning. Will we see more of them coming online or more liquidity coming into it over time?
Yes, absolutely. Liquidity for sure. And also with partnerships, the go-to was obviously the DEXs, right? This is like where you launch. Now we are working with the various partners that we've already signed and a few others that are now joining. They wanted to see Djed go live before they sign into things. Now that they've seen it, other partners are joining as well. So now we're gradually implementing. We're obviously prioritizing those that are already on mainnet. Some of the partners that you've seen are still on testnet. So we'll prioritize those that are on mainnet and launch with them in the coming weeks.
Okay, yeah, I suppose we kind of need to see liquidity stepped up a bit as well before we get even more partners coming in, because you don't want the liquidity too distributed at the minute. You need a certain depth of liquidity for people that are trading to have a better trading experience. And just on minting, just to go back to the minimums and stuff like that, I see why, if you look at other chains, USDT or USDC or any of them, generally the minting is done at higher volumes at the contract and everyone else trades on DEXs. And when you look at the fee structure, it probably isn't worth it for people to mint smaller amounts right now as well. Just on the fees, there is a 1.5% and then there's a 100 ADA fee, is there, on every mint and burn?
It is, and that will also change over time. We never wanted the 100 ADA to be there fixed. It should have been a percentage of the transaction, and then it would have made a lot more sense to other things. We couldn't have made it to version 1.1 for various reasons, so that will change over time. And generally speaking, as the protocol and the burn and mint fees, remember that they are there to serve the Shen holders. We want to make sure that they are incentivized because they are providing the liquidity to this protocol, and without them, it would have been a lot more difficult to create something that will keep the peg. So we are incentivizing them, to begin with. So they've collected a decent amount of fees now, and also us as COTI, the operational fee, the first batch was actually swapped in the market. So we just market bought COTI and then distributed to the COTI community, which for those who watch this and are part of the COTI community, they are aware of the treasury that we have, and it spiked the APY for everybody when we released these rewards to the community. So that was a great experience, and that will happen again and again and again, right? So this is why the fees are there, but obviously as we're going now to the day-to-day operation, these fees will gradually be lower.
Okay, great. Yeah, I seen there was some very happy COTI holders when they seen the spike in the treasury. We might do a few minutes on COTI towards the end as well for people who are interested in that as well.
Sure.
Just on the so fees might come down. Is that the 1.5% might come down as well, or will that be set there?
Yeah. I think. Look, we are now we're not testing the system. We've looked at Ergo and what they did and other systems, and so 1.5% seemed like a very comfortable spot to be in. This is like where we start testing things, and Djed will be here for many years, right? And we'll continue to collect data and see what works best for Shen holders. These are the guys we have in mind when we're thinking about burn and mint fees.
Yeah, and just when you say that the going to Shen holders, that goes back into the reserve, does it? The 1.5%, rather than there is an airdrop that goes to Shen holders. We'll touch on in a minute, but the mint and burn fees goes into the reserve, so helps, I suppose, push up the reserve fees or the reserve balance that's there.
Exactly. That grows the equity part of the contract, and that is distributed between Shen holders. The delegation rewards that you've mentioned are different. They are airdrop to Shen holders.
Yeah, so I suppose we'll touch on that one. So what all of the ADA that's in the reserve pool is going to be delegated, and the staking rewards are then airdropped to Shen holders. Do you want to talk about how that works, or when we might see that happen?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of when, so every fourth consecutive epoch is when we do the airdrop. In between, we're doing a snapshot of Shen holders to determine on a random basis to determine the eligibility. The way it will work is in the coming days we will add in the Djed website there will be a user interface where you put in your address, your Cardano wallet address, and then you can see the amount that you should be getting in terms of ADA in the next airdrop. So this is how it's being calculated. The other thing that we are doing that was a bit more complicated, but we've received help from the DEXs, is we wanted that people that provide liquidity to a DEX, like I'm putting Djed ADA and on a DEX, or Shen ADA on DEX. I want you to get the rewards. So the way so we figured it out anyway, and these people are getting the airdrop as well. So that's how it's going to work.
Okay, that's great to hear. I did mint Shen when it launched. On the day of launch, I went and I minted Shen to get involved and see how the whole process works. So far I've been holding that in my own wallet, waiting to see confirmation that people who provide liquidity will get the airdrop. So I think there's probably other people out there like that as well, and that will help liquidity on DEXs if people are going to get them airdrops as well. And will that be done through the DEX, or will that come directly to our wallet?
Directly to the wallet.
Okay, that's great to hear. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out there are happy to hear that as well. And what else do I have? A few questions from the community as well. So that was a big one. The first Shen airdrop, do we know when that one will be?
So should have like 20 days, I would say, post launch. I would say probably in and I can be a bit more accurate after this call, but probably in a week's time or so about 7 days from now. But that'll be a bit more accurate later.
Okay, and then snapshots, they will be random. They're not like Cardano where every 5 days. I suppose if you do it every 5 days, people are incentivized to buy on the 5th day.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's another one actually someone was asking about, is there a max supply for Djed and Shen, or is that just based on however much people mint using?
However people will mint,
it's limited by the ADA price and them kind of metrics, but you don't have a hard cap on it.
No, I think we needed to put something in the contract, so we put like 1 trillion or something, but it's essentially it's like no limit.
If we get there, we'll be in very good territory.
We'll be trillionaires. We'll be trillionaires, sir. Yeah.
I look forward to the day.
Yeah.
So what's coming next for Djed then? There's different versions that will come that will bring in dynamic Djed, and so simple Djed is what launched first. But what else is
minimal
in the
and
pipeline?
extended? Exactly.
Or,
so
sorry, extended,
So we are progressing with the roadmap, and that includes Pluto's version 2, extended Djed, multiple delegation, etc. There are other things that we're working on and researching as well. So expect news there. Obviously, the partnerships and the liquidity is important. We now have a functional version out there, so it's now about making sure that Djed is getting the place that where it should be. Over time, and that will take longer, but over time there will be other assets like wrapped BTC and wrapped Ethereum in the Djed smart contract. That will take obviously a bit more time. But yeah, we have we've published everything to version 1.3. What we have in the backlog is actually going all the way to version 1.6. So we have a few other things that we've never mentioned to this point, because we don't have timelines for them just yet. So yeah, the big things is V2, extended Djed, multiple delegation, partnerships, and liquidity. I would say that's in the horizon.
Great. Yeah, actually, the multiple delegation, we'll just mention it here because it was a hotly contested topic as well when it came out first. Some of the limitations. Actually, you go on ahead there.
There is also like another thing that we're working on is the enclaving, and that will allow the possibility to delegate to smaller pools. Like ideally, how we wanted this to work and how it will work over time is a lot of small pools is where we'll be delegating to. Not obviously not just one big pool, but a lot of small pools and we'll do that dynamically. So Cardano will be even more decentralized than. I mean, this is part of what we want to do, and this will allow us to reward, obviously, the smaller pool operators. This is where we're aiming to.
That's good. It would be great for Cardano as a whole and really help out a lot of the smaller pools out there, because once a pool gets to 2-3 million, they generally get blocks every epoch. And when we're at, I think you said around 31 million ADA sitting in the reserves right now, that could help a lot of pools out there. And do we have to wait for Cardano to bring in multi-pool delegation, or have you got anything that could work? I know Liquid Finance have something. I'm not sure exactly how they work.
We do need to wait to complete the research and engineering for this. But again, the long-term perspective of, and again, Djed will be here for decades, right? Not just years. And in the longer-term perspective, imagine Cardano going where it should be, and the DeFi ecosystem on Cardano, topping 1 billion, right? Then imagine how big Djed will be. So now we have a lot of ADA in a smart contract, and if you delegate this enough to a lot of small pools, then we can help out a lot while remaining decentralized and while optimizing the rewards for everybody. So the long-term perspective, this is where we want to go, and this is the coming years.
Yeah. So actually, just on decentralization, 2 final topics, and then we'll move on to COTI as well. So will the contracts be open sourced at any point?
Yeah, and pretty soon, actually. We're waiting for the audit, and the smart contract will be open source soon.
Oh, that's great to hear. That's another thing a lot of community members were asking, and that enables others to see how things are done and maybe build their own even interfaces or build other products as well based on that. And just on an interface, so if someone else built a front end for it, the parameters, are they all hard coded into the smart contract, like the fees and stuff like that, or if there was a different interface?
All the parameters are hard coded, so that will remain. But people can, build a better interface, maybe not geofence it, like people can do all these sort of things. That's fine.
Okay, great. And bring on to, you mentioned Paxos earlier on in the comments. Any worries there with what we're seeing with BUSD and Paxos and the SEC coming in right now, or that's along the lines of decentralization? I know we're very different to Paxos, but what's your thoughts on it?
Well, it's exactly that, right? It's and again, it's the sort of thing that we were expecting to happen, not to Paxos or anybody, and and there's still a lot of ambiguity, and we don't really know what it's all about. Like, how is a stablecoin a security? Is that even the case? Like, we don't know if that is even the case, right? It could be other things. It could be money laundering and other charges. So we don't know exactly the charges and what exactly is going on. Obviously, it seems odd that a stablecoin through the Howey test can be a security, if that is the case. But everything with fiat and centralized entities that handle fiat, I think, are an easier target for the SEC. There's a lot of choke points out there that can be put in place. Djed, once it's the smart contract is published and the whole thing is fully decentralized, it's just a reality. It's a force of nature, right? It's the sun and the stars. It's a phenomenon. We can't really stop that, right? We can stop all the front ends in the world, and maybe if that is the case, right? But the Djed is decentralized, so that is very, very different in many ways, and the incentive system is different. So I'm not too worried about that. I am weary, like everybody, I guess, should be, to the last few days and the crackdown. So it seems that happens in the U.S. right now, with a lot of charges being thrown around to a lot of bodies about staking, about stablecoins and whatnot. to be expected, obviously, but I guess we'll see how it all rolls out. We are ready.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of that is just starting rather than concluding. We'll have to wait and
Yes.
see where they go next. But
Yeah.
as you say, anything with a fiat gateway is definitely going to be the first port of call for them, because it's very easy to come in and shut something like that down at the source. Like Paxos right now, they're not going to mint any more BUSD. For anyone that hasn't seen it, if you just Google Paxos and BUSD, you'll see all the stories on it, but they're not going to mint anymore, but they will still support it. I think until February 24, they've said they will do that. So it'll basically ramp down over the next year, unless now Paxos have said they're going to come out and fight it, but what that brings to, I don't know. You look at the Ripple case, how long that's going on,
Yes.
and it's still no end in sight. But then moving on to COTI, can you give the high level of what COTI is, and then kind of what's happening with COTI now?
Yeah, well, COTI, for those who are not familiar, COTI is it's a layer one. It's an enterprise layer one based on a graph. So it's very scalable and very cost effective. And we target COTI, like the use of COTI with enterprises. So based on our unique technology, our A to Z approach. So we develop the solution for the enterprise, and also the fact that we are regulation ready in many cases. So everybody that has ever held a native COTI had to do a KYC and other things as well. With that in mind, I would say the big three things to look for in COTI. One is the treasury. So COTI has a treasury, which is an app that users make deposit, and they share the fees that are coming through our ecosystem. And that has been very valuable to COTI users throughout time. It's very successful. It's about to hit about $500 million COTI, which is more than 40% of our circulating supply. So that's big, and that is very successful. And riding on this success, we are about to launch this year Treasury 2.0. Treasury 2.0 takes the treasury to the next level, and the next level for us is adding functionality and adding other types of assets that can be deposited in COTI's treasury. And specifically, we're looking at stablecoins. So users can deposit all sorts of stablecoins to COTI treasury and be part of what we call a stability pool, which is a system that we've put in place that rewards you. So Treasury 2.0 is a big thing. I'm thinking maybe mid this year. We'll see. So that's one big thing. The other big thing is GCOTI. So GCOTI is a token. It's a new token. It's a governance token for COTI's treasury. And it has, other than the governance utility that allows you to, propose and vote on various things around the treasury, it actually boosts the APY that you're getting from the treasury and allows you to participate in liquidations that are happening. So it adds a lot of financial value to its holders. How will people get GCOTI is a big, interesting thing, because we're going to give that away for free. So it's going to be a fair launch. We'll airdrop a big amount of a big chunk of GCOTI to everybody in the COTI community that are either participating in actively depositing in COTI's treasury, or are part of the GCOTI campaign, the social campaign, or has COTI ERC20, which is another version of COTI, and we're still figuring out the mechanics of it, but that's a thing to expect. So I would say that if people want access to GCOTI, they need to have COTI in the coming weeks. So that's the second pillar. And by the way, we did this sort of thing in the past when we released the Crypto Volatility Index, which is a DeFi project. We also did a fair launch and gave away a token called Govi for free to COTI holders. And that ended up being like an airdrop worth $16 million, which we gave at no cost to people. So I think GCOTI will even be bigger. Lastly is a complete revamp that we are doing on our infrastructure. It's called COTI V2. So we're taking our technology and making it a bit more compatible to EVM and smart contracts and so on, while keeping the DAG available, the graph available. And we're not just innovating on the tech stack level, we are also innovating on the use case level, because what we want to do is build a regulation layer that you can use, or a regulation language that you can use on top of our infrastructure. So like in theory, you could say, you can type in, like you can code, if user is US, then enforce SEC, right? These sort of commands in the infrastructure. And that will allow you to build dApps that can be regulated. And this is like a big thing that we're building. It's very, very early on to say anything detailed about it, but this is where we're heading with our infrastructure. We believe over time, and again, every day that just proves it more, over time, crypto will need to abide to the law of the land. So how do we do this while remaining innovative and decentralized? That's the big question, and this is what we're trying to solve with this language.
Yeah, that's a very big topic within Cardano right now. On Cardano on Twitter the last few days, there's been some big discussions about whether you bring in KYC to the protocol or where it fits in a decentralized ecosystem. Just on what you said there, is every COTI holder KYC then to use the network, or how does that work?
Yeah, the native token. So we have a COTI on Trust Chain, which is our native infrastructure, and on ERC20. ERC20 is not KYC'd, but the native assets, yes, you are KYC'd when you use the network. You're connecting to the network through a wallet called Viper, and in order to access it, you need to KYC. So we have tens of thousands of users that we've KYC'd in the past.
Okay, so if someone buys on an exchange, a centralized exchange, and they go to withdraw to actually set up the wallet first, that's where the KYC happens, is it? And then
yes, if you are working on Huobi or KuCoin, if you are on Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, etc., then it's ERC20 version, and you don't need to set up anything.
Okay, and then just if people do, maybe getting too far into it here, but if people do end up buying on them exchanges, do ye have a bridge to convert the ERC20 token?
Yes. Yeah. We do have a bridge that converts COTI ERC20 to COTI native and vice versa.
Okay, great. I can leave some of the links below for COTI for people who want to get further into it as well. And look, maybe later in the year when you have the treasury out and the airdrop is approaching or something like that, we could do a follow-up and go deeper into COTI and take a look at how Djed is performing as well.
Yes, let's do that.
Anything else on either Djed, Shen, COTI that we haven't covered here?
I think we covered most of it, yeah.
Great. Look, I appreciate your time, Shahaf. Thanks very much for coming on. Everyone watching, if you think others can benefit, learn a bit more about what's going on, please do share it out. Leave questions below, give the video a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Shahaf.